When a broken girl tricks a millionaire so into love, shocking truth revealed now. Rain poured like a broken faucet that night, painting the streets in a glistening coat of despair. Shadows danced under flickering lampposts, and the air crackled with an unnameable tension. In a city where dreams twisted like smoke, Cora slipped through the crowd, a specter cloaked in secrets. There was something irresistible about her. Maybe it was the fire in her emerald eyes or the way her sun-kissed hair clung to her freckled cheeks. Yet, beneath her playful smile lay the weight of 1,000 untold stories. Just as she ducked into a dimly lit coffee shop, the door swung open. It was him, Maxwell Cain, the city's billionaire CEO, infamous for his ice-cold demeanor and jawline sharp enough to cut glass. The room went silent as he strolled in, his tailored suit clinging to him like a second skin. Women turned to watch him, eyes wide, breaths held. But Cora felt nothing but a tightness in her chest at the thought of how this encounter might change everything. Cora was quick on her feet. She had one plan, and it involved capturing Maxwell's interest in the only way she knew how. It was reckless, really a gamble fueled by desperation and dreams hungering to escape her stark reality. She spilled her coffee accidentally, of course sending hot brown liquid splashing onto his pristine shoes. The room gasped, a collective inhalation of horror and pity. But all Cora saw were the flames of curiosity igniting in his dark eyes. Before they could piece together the catastrophe, a wild idea flickered in her mind. "I am so sorry. I thought they were out of decaf," she stammered, her cheeks burning. "Can I buy you another cup?" The thought of approaching him this way seemed absurd, but sometimes, absurdity was the only currency in a broken world. "Sure," he replied, his brows raised in curiosity. The hum of the coffee grinder resumed, background chatter erupted, and it felt like the world shifted on its axis. Cora's heart pounded. Was this her moment? Did it come down to her courage against his empire? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As they chatted, strange sparks crackled between them. A delicious tension that made every second feel electric. Cora shared tales woven with truth and fiction, pulling him into her world, a place filled with heartache and fragile dreams of wealth, an enticing mix for a man like Maxwell, who thrived on conquest. She could see the gears turning in his head, a storm brewing behind his piercing gaze. But what began as a clumsy accident grew roots in something deeper. As the evening slipped into night, Cora felt the faintest whisper of hope, the kind that rises like smoke, lingering on the edges of reality. But lurking in the shadows were the questions forming like storm clouds. Was it all a game? Was she just a fleeting distraction in his perfect life? With the spark between them undeniable, the real truth awaited to be unleashed, one that could either bind them together or tear them apart in an explosion of secrets and revelations. Did she dare to love a man like Maxwell Cain? And would he ever truly see her, broken and beautifully flawed, for who she really was? Cora held her breath, wondering what came next. The warm glow of the coffee shop wrapped around Cora like a thin veil, but the chill of doubt gnawed at her insides. Maxwell leaned forward slightly, his interest piqued. Every word that rolled off her tongue felt like it held a weight, a significance she could barely understand. With each shared laugh, each flutter of their eyes, she felt herself drawn deeper into a web she was weaving. Could she maintain this illusion? "What's your story, Cora?" he asked suddenly, his voice low and smooth, almost like whiskey slipping down her throat. It sent a thrill through her, but also a panic. She had spun tales of a life sprinkled with adventure, of a girl chasing dreams, lying her way into his heart. Does she reveal the cracks beneath the glossy surface now? Or was that an invitation to expose herself? She hesitated, the lump in her throat growing heavier. Just, trying to make it in the city. A lie that felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter. She could feel the weight of his gaze, piercing through the mask she wore. He searched for the truth, and she found herself mirroring the tension in his posture. Maxwell observed her intently. It's tough out there. I can relate. But you don't seem like someone who backs down easily. His admiration tinged the air, tickling her bravado, but also tightening the vice of reality around her heart. Cora's cheeks flushed. You have no idea, she replied, forcing a brave smile. I fought through a lot. And she had, but that truth was a jagged edge she couldn't bear to hold too closely. Just when she thought she'd found footing, the shop's door swung open again, dragging in a gust of cold air and an unfamiliar presence. Cora's heart stumbled. In swept Tiffany, Maxwell's business partner, the embodiment of elegance and poise. The kind of woman who could charm a room just by entering. She glanced at Cora, a sly smile curling at the corners of her mouth. It was a mix of recognition and challenge that sent a wave of unease crashing over Cora. Maxwell, darling, Tiffany cooed, her voice dripping with honeyed arrogance. I wasn't expecting to find you here with? Her eyes flitted to Cora, assessing, judging. Cora felt the mask slip just a fraction, exposing the timid girl hidden beneath. Maxwell seemed unfazed, but Cora could feel the shift in the atmosphere, like a dark shadow crawling in. He straightened up, the softness of their connection tense now. Cora came to my rescue, actually. Coffee mishap. Oh really? Tiffany's eyes sparkled with mischief. How quaint. There was no warmth behind her words. Cora swallowed hard. Was she merely a curiosity to them both? Suddenly, dread knotted in her stomach. She could feel her carefully constructed dreams burning. Would she be seen as nothing more than a blip on their radar? Would the flames of their connection be extinguished by mere exposure? Maxwell's gaze lingered on Cora, protective yet intrigued, a dangerous combination. I think we were just getting started, he said, his voice firm, as if pushing back against the tide of Tiffany's dominance. Cora wanted to scream. What was he doing? Did he see her or just another challenge? As Tiffany studied her, Cora took a breath, a wave of uncertainty crashing over her once more. Just when their budding connection sparkled with promise, she risked losing it all in one unpredictable moment. With her heart pounding, she wondered, could she stand her ground? Could she fight for her place in this world he owned? And what shadowy truths lay hidden just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel? Cora's mind raced with possibilities, churning like a storm brewing far too close. As the tension thickened, a chilling question slipped into the depths of her thoughts. Would the truth, once revealed, draw them together or tear them apart? The laughter in the coffee shop died down, leaving the air thick with anticipation. Cora felt all eyes on her, and her pulse quickened. Tiffany's presence loomed like a thundercloud, threatening to unleash a storm. She had underestimated the power of this formidable woman, and now every fiber in her being was screaming to retreat. Cora, is it? Tiffany's tone was syrupy sweet but layered with venom. What is it you do? Cora stammered. I'm in marketing. The words rolled off her tongue so easily. She had rehearsed countless times in her mind, crafting a persona that shone with ambition and success. But now, with Tiffany's sharp scrutiny bearing down on her, they felt flimsy and unconvincing. Marketing, Tiffany repeated, a melodious laugh escaping her lips. Interesting. Every girl claims to be in marketing these days, as if it were all glitz and glam. Cora's cheeks burned. How she wished she could disappear under the table. Those words were an open cut, revealing the raw truth of her existence. She wasn't merely fighting the reputation of her job. She was wrestling with the reflection of her life. What's your specialty, darling? Tiffany's smirk deepened, and Cora saw past the facade of elegance. She was a predator and Cora was prey. A shiver coursed through her. Maxwell shifted in his seat, his expression tightening. Enough, Tiffany. His voice held a new edge that made Cora feel momentarily safe. Cora's doing just fine. Why don't you join us instead of throwing barbs? The invitation hung in the air, but there was nothing inviting about it. Cora felt caught in a crossfire. Tiffany's smile faltered for a split second, the facade cracking. Oh, I have busy schedules to keep, she said, adjusting her scarf with a dismissive wave. But the challenge was unmistakable. You two enjoy your little coffee date. With that, she turned, her heels clicking sharply against the floor as she exited, leaving an echo of tension behind her. Maxwell sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I'm sorry about that. Tiffany can be intense. Cora forced a smile, uncertain what to say. His protective instinct was a balm on her frayed nerves, but also a reminder of her precarious position. I'm used to intense, she replied, though it felt hollow. This city is full of it. Their eyes locked, and for a heartbeat, the world outside melted away. But doubt crept back, whispering insidiously. What if Maxwell chose loyalty to his partner over any connection they shared? Look, Cora, he began, then paused, an intensity flaring in his gaze. I know I just met you, but I feel something here. Something in his tone urged her heart to race, warning bells clanging louder. What do you mean? Let us be real. He leaned in, urgency cutting through the air. I've connected with you in a way I can't explain. But I don't want to rush you. Just take your time. A trap disguised as genuine concern. Cora felt dizzy, the weight of his words both a lifeline and a noose. She wanted to scream, wanted to run, to tell him everything she had sketched out in her mind. But she couldn't. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating, until Cora felt like she'd explode. Maxwell, listen, she finally whispered, consternation clawing at her chest. There's something I need to tell you. Before she could continue, the door swung open again, slicing through the air. Cora's heart plummeted as she turned to see Tiffany re-emerging, face flushed and eyes blazing with a mix of determination and fury. The tension in the room crackled, and it was as if time itself had shuddered to a halt. Cora's mouth went dry. Dread pooled in her stomach. What new game was Tiffany playing? Would she expose Cora's lies now? Cora's breath hitched as an ominous feeling spread through her. Whatever shield she thought she had could shatter at any moment. And as the second confrontation loomed, she questioned yet again, would she fight for what she had with Maxwell, or would the truth align against her? The weight of uncertainty pressed down on her like an unrelenting storm, leaving her to wonder. What devastating truths awaited when the facade finally fell? Cora's heart raced as Tiffany strode back into the coffee shop, radiating an unsettling blend of confidence and chaos. The energy shifted palpably, like a charged storm ready to burst. Cora wanted to melt into her chair, but the eyes of the patrons were boring into her, curious about the unfolding drama. Excuse me, everyone. Tiffany's voice rang out, loud and clear, slicing through the murmur of disbelief. Cora's chest tightened. But I just couldn't let this precious moment slip away without expressing my admiration for Cora. She's a real survivor, you know. Cora's stomach dropped. Was this a confession or a condemnation? She forced a smile, but it felt rigid and unconvincing. Maxwell's expression contorted with confusion, and he searched Cora's eyes for an explanation. Cora's got a fascinating little story, Tiffany continued, her tone dripping with mockery. Why not let her share it with all of us? I'm sure it'll be enlightening. Stop it, Cora choked out, her voice barely a whisper, the knot in her throat closing in. Oh, come now, Cora, Tiffany taunted, stepping closer, inviting the storm to unleash. You wouldn't want your new friend to think you're anything less than fabulous, would you? The laughter and chatter in the cafe had turned into a muted buzz, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Cora could feel the weight of every gaze on her, pricking at her skin like needles. Why don't we talk somewhere else? Maxwell's voice broke through with an assertiveness she hadn't anticipated, yet it held a hint of desperation. He got up, shielding her as if he could protect her from the incoming fallout. Tiffany's eyes narrowed, an icy smile appearing on her lips. Oh, but are you afraid the truth will come out? It's just a little chat after all. Cora felt herself wobble, each word a punch to her gut. The truth? What truth? The mask she had created was cracking, and panic welled up inside her like an uncontainable flood. Let us go, Maxwell said urgently, reaching for her arm, but Cora stood frozen, caught in Tiffany's web. Didn't you say you're in marketing? Tiffany pressed, her voice almost purring with delight. What exactly are you marketing, Cora? Dreams? Illusions? Or perhaps the fantasy of living a life you didn't earn? Maxwell moved in closer, his hands brushing against her back, protective yet unsure. Tiffany, what's your deal? Why do you need to hurt her like this? Cora could hardly breathe. The silence felt heavy. The coffee shop was an audience, and she was standing on a tightrope, teetering precariously above the jaws of uncertainty. Make it easy for us, Cora, Tiffany added. Tell him the real reason you are here. You know, before I reveal it for you. I didn't. Cora began, her voice trembling. What would it take to bury the facade she built? Just say what's on your mind, Maxwell urged softly, searching her eyes. You can trust me. Those words took root in her heart, yet doubt lacerated deeper. The air crackled with tension, and she felt every second stretch out into eternity. The moment felt crucial, like an invisible force hanging between them. But just as Cora opened her mouth to speak, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She fumbled for it, eyes darting to the screen. The notification shattered her focus, a text from an unknown number, blurred with urgency. I know what you've done. If you don't meet me tonight, all will be revealed. Fear gripped her. She looked at Maxwell and Tiffany, confusion turning into despair in an instant. Cora? Maxwell's worried brow furrowed deeper. Are you all right? Tiffany's triumphant smile flickered like a candle in the wind. Cora stood at the brink, the weight of choices heavy on her shoulders. Torn between the past chasing her and the future waiting to be forged, she had to decide quickly. Could she escape Tiffany and whatever threat loomed over her? Or would the truth she feared expose her before she even had a chance to fight for what she wanted? As the coffee shop buzzed with tension and unanswered questions, Cora braced herself for the storm that awaited. The clock was ticking. What would she risk to keep her secrets safe? Cora's heart hammered like a drum in her chest, drowning out the sounds of the cafe. She barely registered the whispers wrapping around her. What's going on? Is that true? The faces of the patrons morphed into blurs, their eyes filled with judgment and curiosity as Cora stood frozen, a figurative deer caught in headlights. Cora? Talk to me, Maxwell urged, his voice steady yet soaked with concern. He searched her eyes, his own reflecting a storm of emotions: confusion, anger, perhaps even a hint of betrayal. I need a second, she stammered, her throat constricting as a wave of panic threatened to pull her under. Tiffany laughed lightly, a sound so hollow it made Cora's skin crawl. Take your time, darling. The truth doesn't hide for long. Maxwell frowned at Tiffany, yet his eyes never left Cora, pleading. What did that message say? You can't keep this from me, Cora. You just can't. The phone felt like a lead weight in her pocket, its message inscribed in her mind like a curse. I know what you've done. What have you done, Cora? Maxwell pressed, stepping closer. Suddenly, introducing the truth didn't seem like an option. I need to think. Tiffany's laughter cut through her turmoil. Thinking never saved anyone from consequences, sweetheart. You should know that better than anyone. The barista, trying to appeal to the dying tension, offered up fresh coffees, but the steam rising from the cups felt more like a cloud of secrets suffocating her. The air thickened, a visible mass of dread looming, and Cora's thoughts spun wildly, searching for an escape route before perspective turned into despair. She turned slowly, scanning the exits. The sun-drenched street outside glowed like a world untouched by the chaos enveloping her. Maybe I should just leave, not until you tell me what's going on. Just say it. Maxwell's normally calm demeanor fractured like glass. Her hands trembled, her stomach twisted tighter. I'm not who you think I am, she finally blurted, almost collapsing under the weight of those words. Then who are you? He responded, voice shaking slightly, demanding a truth more than just words. Perhaps she's an imposter, Tiffany interjected, leaning into Maxwell's space with a triumphant glint in her eyes. Or perhaps she just loves playing with fire. The crowd in the coffee shop murmured, shifting the atmosphere to a simmering boil. Is that true? A woman called out from the corner, adding pressure like pouring gasoline on flames. Shut up. Cora snapped, frustration spilling over. Her heart sank as she realized she couldn't bear this weight alone. Maxwell's gaze turned steely yet inviting. Cora, you don't have to explain everything here. Let us just go for a moment, all right? We can figure this out somewhere private. Do you even know what you're asking? She whispered, her feet almost moving on instinct to flee. But something, maybe the fear of loss, anchored her in place. The ding of the doorbell brought her back, eyes darting to see a familiar figure entering. It was Ethan, her past wrapped around him like a shroud, presence engulfing the space. The moment their eyes locked, time seemed to pause, the tension morphing into something electric. Cora, Ethan called, his voice low and urgent. What is he doing here? Tiffany demanded, eyes ablaze with jealousy. Just when it seemed the storm couldn't get worse, Cora thought, panic tightening its grip. Ethan stepped forward boldly, breaking through the swirling atmosphere. I know you're in trouble. We need to talk now. Cora had always feared the past might come back to haunt her. Fate had just decided to throw the past at her doorstep. She clenched her jaw, dread and determination spinning together in a chaotic dance. What would Ethan reveal? And how would Maxwell react to everything? The walls closed in and she could sense the storm brewing, ready to unleash its fury. And that tense moment, as the air crackled, she realized one painful truth. No escape was possible now. Every secret was on the verge of exposure, and Cora's world was about to unravel more spectacularly than she could have imagined. Would she embrace what was coming? Or would she run, leaving everything behind including those who mattered most? Cora swallowed hard, the weight of Ethan's presence crashing down on her like a tidal wave. The cafe buzzed with whispers, patrons leaning in, eyes glued to the seams of her unraveling life, their intrigue a double-edged sword. Why are you here? She managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper, fear short-circuiting her thoughts. Ethan's brow furrowed, concern momentarily eclipsing his usual inquisitive smirk. I've been looking for you, Cora. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. Maxwell's jaw tightened. What do you know that we don't? His tone was calm, but the tension in his stance screamed otherwise. He straightened, drawing what felt like a wall between them and Ethan. Enough. Enough to know she's in deep. Ethan snapped back, frustration clouding his urgency. Cora, we don't have time for this theatrics. Just come with me, please. Tiffany stepped forward, feigning nonchalance, but her eyes danced with delight at the disruption. And who are you exactly? The harbinger of doom? Her laughter rang out, brittle under the weight of the tension. Leave her alone. Maxwell shot, eyes flashing. He was on the verge of losing control, and Cora could sense the threat in the air. The cafe was a simmering volcano, ready to erupt with the slightest provocation. Is it true? Another voice piped up from the corner, carrying the weight of the crowd's curiosity. Are you really not who we think you are, Cora? The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Cora's heart raced, and she could hear the quiet mocking of her own thoughts, spiraling into chaos. I'm just trying to figure everything out, she choked out, clutching her phone as if it were a life preserver tossed into raging waters. Maxwell reached out, fingers brushing against her arm, grounding her. Cora, tell me what's happening. You don't need to face this alone. I'm right here. Suddenly, the room felt both small and expansive, the coffee machines buzzing away, oblivious to the life-altering revelations brewing. Cora shook her head, feeling the turmoil roiling within. I can't drag you into this, Maxwell. You deserve better than my mess, Cora replied, her voice trembling, her heart breaking. Ethan took a step closer, imposing yet protective. What you think is a mess, Cora, is someone else's plan. It's not just about you. People are involved. I wouldn't have come if it weren't serious. Her breath hitched as she met Maxwell's gaze. She wanted to scream, to tear down the walls surrounding her heart, but all came out was, I was running from something, not just my past, from something worse. What if the worst is already here? Tiffany jabbed, her eyes bright with anticipation, like a dog waiting for the bone. Before Cora could respond, a shout erupted from the back of the cafe, a loud crash of falling chairs. Broken glass scattered across the floor, and heads turned sharply toward the commotion. Amid the chaos, Cora's pulse quickened. Could this be the distraction she needed? In that moment of panic, she realized there was no more hiding. Enough! She cried, voice cutting through the mayhem. You want the truth? Then let us make it loud. The room fell silent, the glares narrowing. All eyes were on her, waiting, hungry for the revelation she was teetering on the brink of delivering. But just as the words began to form on her lips, the door swung open again, a figure cloaked in shadow, stepping in as if the darkness itself had taken human form. Seems like I'm not the only one looking for Cora. The figure smirked, voice smooth as silk yet edged with danger. Cora's stomach dropped. Who was this new player, and how did they fit into her tangled web of hearts and lies? Maxwell turned to her, fear etched across his face, but Cora was too absorbed in the looming threat. The stakes had just escalated, and the game was about to change. What secrets lay with this unexpected arrival? Would Cora finally face her truth? Or would the past bury her alive as the line between friend and foe blurred? The figure stepped closer, and Cora could see glimmers of recognition flashing in the crowd. Whispers surged around her. A whirlpool of disbelief and curiosity. Who was this shadowy stranger? And why did it feel like a chill had wrapped itself around her heart? Do you all know her? The newcomer taunted, taking a leisurely stroll into the cafe, black clothes flowing around them like smoke. The so-called innocent girl hiding behind her sweet facade? Cora instinctively recoiled as if struck. What do you want? She demanded, urgency lending weight to her voice. You know exactly what I want, they replied with a smile that didn't reach their eyes. You've run far, Cora, but you can't outrun your truth forever. It's time to come home. Home. The word echoed in her mind, awakening memories she had tried desperately to lock away. Stifled laughter, doors slamming, and 100 conflicting emotions washed over her: shame, regret, anger. She felt herself slipping as panic bubbled up. Maxwell shifted protectively, anger radiating from him in waves. What do you mean come home? Who are you? Ah, you must be the brave knight, the figure said, glancing swiftly at him, amusement dancing on their lips. You might want to reconsider playing hero here. This isn't a fairy tale. Cora felt the weight of her choices crushing her, the distance between her and the people she cared about stretching into a chasm. I don't know what you're talking about. Her voice came out small, almost a plea. Ethan, who had remained oddly quiet, finally stepped forward. What do you know about her past? His voice was even, but Cora saw the tightness in his features, a mixture of worry and anger. Ready to explode, the figure leaned in closer, eyes glinting with malice. Oh, I know everything. The girl with secrets burrowing deeper than you could possibly imagine. This city is only so big, Cora, and I have friends everywhere. You can play hide and seek all you like, but I have come to collect. A collective gasp erupted from the crowd, and suddenly all eyes turned toward Cora. The weight of their stares felt like chains pulling her under. She'd tried so hard to keep her life together, but here she was rat in a trap, exposed for everyone to see. What do you mean collect? Maxwell challenged, edging closer to Cora, ready to shield her from this threat. Cora's heart raced as she felt the tension coiling tighter, like a snake around its prey. The figure chuckled, a sound like breaking glass. Let us just say there are debts to be paid, old scores to settle. Cora, here is just the tip of the iceberg. As the implications sank in, Cora glanced between Ethan, Maxwell, and the figure, unable to grasp the full horror unfolding. You don't have to do this. I can fix this, she shouted, desperation bleeding into her words. Fix it? The stranger sneered. You've been running for so long, haven't you? But where exactly do you think you'll run now? Time has run out. Before Cora could respond, Ethan grabbed her wrist, urgency flashing in his eyes. We need to go now. But just as they turned to flee, the shadowed figure leaped forward, blocking their path. You think you can escape this, Cora? Think again. I didn't come here to play games. I came to end them. The cafe erupted in panic, chairs scraping and people shouting. Cora felt the air heavy with primal fear, pushing against her lungs. Cora! Maxwell yelled, pulling her towards the exit, but the figure stood there, a harbinger of doom looming large, every heartbeat amplifying the dread clouding her thoughts. Run all you want, Cora, but you'll never escape who you really are. As they burst through the door, the world outside felt liberating yet fraught with danger. Cora's heart hammered, and dread twisted in her gut. But the figure's final words echoed in her mind. The shadows may have come for her, but she was ready to face her demons. What truths awaited her in the light? And would they be enough to change the course of her life forever? The night was just beginning, and the real game had only just started. The moment they hit the street, a rush of cool night air hit Cora's face. Her breath came in shallow gasps, each inhale laced with fear and uncertainty. She spun around to see the figure standing just inside the cafe doorway, their presence a dark silhouette against the ambient light. The whispers of the crowd faded behind them, but the weight of those curious eyes still pressed down on her shoulders. Cora, we need to get out of here. Ethan's voice was urgent, shaking her from her haze. Where? Where do we go? She stammered, feeling lost and vulnerable. She cast a quick glance down the street, but every alley seemed to echo with shadows. Maxwell's grip tightened around her wrist, almost possessive. Just down the block. There's a diner, we'll be safe there for now. Cora nodded, the adrenaline coursing through her body pushing her to move. They dashed together, feet pounding against the pavement, hearts racing in sync with the chaos that had just erupted behind them. She could almost hear the stranger's laughter over the din they left behind, cold, mocking, and extremely unsettling. As they reached the diner, Ethan threw open the door, and the scent of fried food mixed with the hum of conversation greeted them. The place was almost empty at this hour. A couple of late-night patrons hunched over their meals, unaware of the storm that was chasing Cora and her friends. "Sit," Maxwell commanded, his tone transitioning from panic to protective authority. They slid into a booth, their faces illuminated by the fluorescent light flickering above. "Who was that person?" Ethan asked, his brows knitted tight with concern. "What did they mean by collect?" Cora shook her head, her pulse racing like a runaway train. "I don't know. I thought I had left that life behind. I thought I was safe." "Clearly you're not," Maxwell snapped, the edge in his voice biting into her nerves. "This is serious, Cora. It sounds like you have someone out there who knows everything about you." Her throat went dry as realization hit her. What if they're right? What if I can't escape? "Listen," Ethan interjected, his voice steady against their rising panic. "You have to tell us everything. We can't protect you if we don't know what we're up against." Cora hesitated, the gravel of shame clinging to her throat. She felt the weight of her past lurk just behind her words, threatening to spill from her lips like a dam about to burst. I came from a place where mistakes were always waiting to surface," she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought starting fresh would erase it all." Maxwell leaned closer, his eyes searching hers. "Cora, whatever it is, we can face it together. You're not alone." Suddenly, a thudding sound rocked the diner, and the air shifted. Cora turned just as the door swung open violently, smashing against the wall. The figure from the cafe stepped into the diner, stealthy and ominous. A chill crept down her spine, freezing her in place. "Did you really think you could just run away?" The figure's voice dripped with delight as they scanned the room. "I told you, Cora, it's time to collect." Gasps echoed in the diner. Cora's heart threatened to break free from her chest. "Get behind me!" Maxwell shouted, shifting to form a protective barrier between her and the danger. But Cora felt an unexpected surge of determination rise within her. She wasn't going to let this shadow take her down without a fight. "What are you going to do?" she challenged, her voice louder than before, each word a declaration of her intent. "I am more than my past." The figure laughed, cold and sharp. "We'll see about that." As the tension spiraled, Cora braced herself, ready to confront the truth she had kept buried for so long. Would she finally embrace who she really was? Or would she let the shadows swallow her once again? The stakes had never been higher, and the real battle was only just beginning. Cora's heart raced as the figure stepped further into the diner, each movement etched with a predatory grace. They took their time, scanning the shadows of the room, as if relishing the tension hanging thick in the air. Maxwell pressed closer, his body a fortress blocking Cora from view. She could hear the murmur of patrons stirring, confusion coloring their faces. The meal they were enjoying suddenly seemed trivial, like a fragile bubble about to burst. "Is this a game to you?" Cora shouted, her voice trembling but fierce, shattering the silence that cloaked the diner. "You think you can just walk in here and take me?" "Take? Oh no, Cora. It's not about taking. It's about reclaiming what's rightfully mine," the figure replied, their grin unsettling as they leaned against the counter. The edges of their words cut sharply, leaving every listener on edge. Ethan shifted nervously beside her. "Forget the past, Cora. We have to leave now." His voice trembled with urgency, and Cora felt it resonate within her, deepening her fear. The figure stepped closer, eyes glinting with an almost feral light. "You can't run forever. You can't escape who you are. But I can help you if you want." "What do you know about me?" Cora shot back, fury replacing fear for an instant. "Oh, I know plenty," they replied, each syllable dripping with mockery. "Every little secret, every mistake you pretend doesn't exist. We could have done great things together." But now they paused dramatically, letting the words hang. Now it might be too late. Maxwell's grip on her arm tightened, pushing her further down in the booth as if hiding her would erase their threat. "This isn't just about you anymore. We can't let them take you." But Cora, feeling a strange bond of bravado and vulnerability intertwine, found her voice. "No one can take me. I'm not an object to be collected. She felt fire surging within her, her defiance solidified by memories of battles fought and won. Fascinating, the figure said, tilting their head as if weighing her words. But this isn't just a battle of wills, sweet Cora. You're caught in something much larger than yourself. What did you think you'd get by running away? Peace? Acceptance? Every word felt like a challenge, pushing Cora further into the depths of her past. A past tangled in shadows and regret. Just leave me alone, she shouted, desperate now as she glanced at Maxwell and Ethan. Their faces mirrored her fear, their eyes pleading for her to rethink her choice to stand her ground. The figure laughed again, a sound that curdled the air. You think you can wish me away, Cora? I'm afraid it doesn't work that way. You owe me and I will collect what I'm owed. As if on cue, the lights flickered ominously, casting long shadows around the diner, escalating the feeling of entrapment. The other patrons exchanged nervous glances, and the atmosphere crackled with every unspoken thought. Cora felt like a centerpiece on display, the weight of judgment heavy in the air. What do you want from me? She gasped, feeling a tightness in her chest. Simple, the figure replied, a predatory smile spreading across their face. I want you to remember who you really are. Suddenly, silence fell, and in that quiet, Cora felt a stirring sensation deep within, a fight she didn't know she possessed. This was not simply about survival. It was about reclaiming her story, her identity. But then another thought crossed her mind, laced with dread. What if the figure was right? What if she couldn't outrun her past after all? Cora looked over at Ethan and Maxwell, their eyes flickering with their own fears, their own unresolved histories. What if facing the truth didn't just mean confronting her demons but possibly exposing theirs, too? This thought hung heavy in the air as tension held everyone captive. The figure seemed to sense the shift. Now shall we play a little game? They taunted, voice smooth as silk. Let us see what secrets are revealed. Before Cora could respond, a loud crash echoed from the back of the diner. The sound shattered the moment, pulling their focus and leaving an unfamiliar dread blossoming in her chest. Had the shadows finally come to collect? The night was far from over, and deep down, Cora knew the revelations were going to change everything. Would they be prepared for what was about to unfold? Cora felt the tension thicken around her, almost suffocating. She breathed in the smell of cheap coffee and fries, desperately trying to find her footing amidst betrayal and uncertainty. The crash echoed in her mind, conjuring her deepest fears. She stole a glance at Maxwell. His eyes burned with an intensity that both terrified and empowered her. Stay close, he whispered, his voice steady like a rock in turbulent waters. Ethan remained on high alert, scanning the room for any signs of danger. We need to get out now. But Cora's legs felt rooted to the floor. The shadowy figure stood in the doorway, smirking, an ominous reminder that her past was clawing at her present. You think you can escape the game just by running? The figure taunted. Cora's heart raced, pulse pounding in her ears as panic threatened to swallow her. What do you want from me? She screamed, the words spilling out of her with a mixture of uncertainty and desperation. The figure took a step forward, the smirk never fading. I want you to confront your truth, Cora. All your secrets, everything you've hidden. Let us see what's really under that facade. They replied, their voice dripping with challenge. You think playing with rich boys will save you from your past? You're just a pawn after all. Maxwell's face darkened, anger flaring in his eyes. Cora isn't a pawn. She's a person with a heart, and I'll be damned if I let you hurt her. Is that so? The figure smirked, their gaze lifting to a distant point behind Cora. Then perhaps he should know what's about to happen. Cora turned sharply, instincts on fire. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw movement, and in an instant her world dropped away. Ethan lunged, tossing a chair into the line of sight, echoing that loud crash. Get out of here! He yelled, blocking the figure momentarily. Chaos erupted as patrons jumped from their seats, the clinking of glasses clashing with shouts. Cora's mind buzzed like a hornet's nest. Should she fight, run, or stand her ground? Seconds felt like hours as the figure's words loomed over her like dark fog. Enough with the theatrics, Maxwell insisted, his voice full of authority. Cora, we need to leave now. Cora's heart pounded, torn between the safety Maxwell promised and the gnawing truth she was still hiding. She felt a rush of warmth from his protective stance, but her knees wobbled under the weight of choices yet unmade. "Run!" Ethan yelled once more, drawing attention as he shoved another chair. The figure laughed, eyes darkening. "Oh, you think that LL hide her? She's one bloodstained track away from disaster." "Stop!" Cora interjected, finally finding her voice. "I won't run anymore. You want me? Here I am. But you'll get the truth. No games." The figure paused, surprise flickering over their features before an amused grin reclaimed their facade. "Now that's the spirit. A little brave for a broken girl." "I'm not broken," Cora asserted, steadying her breath. "I made mistakes, but I won't let them define me." The figure stepped forward, an adrenaline-laced challenge in their eyes. "So tell them then. Let them know what they're really dealing with." Cora turned to Maxwell and Ethan, unwavering resolve bolstering her. "I'm not perfect. I ran from a life I thought I could escape, but the shadows don't fade just because you want them to." Maxwell's hand squeezed hers, grounding her. "You're not alone in this. We're in this together. And if they think they can tear us apart, they're mistaken," Ethan added. The tension hung thick, a charged crackle in the air. Cora took a deep breath. "I started over because I needed a chance at something real. I didn't lie to hurt anyone. I lied to protect the pieces of myself that still exist." Among the chaos, she could hear the murmurs of onlookers behind her. They were still there, but as the shadows of her past crept ever closer, she felt stronger. The truth hurts, but it's time to face it. The figure stepped back, clearly taken aback by Cora's sudden defiance. "Brave words, but they won't save you." "No," she replied, heart steady, "but they will set me free." With newfound strength, Cora rallied her courage, sensing Maxwell and Ethan by her side like soldiers. She took a step forward, fierce and unyielding. "I am Cora, and I will no longer be defined by what others claim I am." As the figure scoffed, a flicker of uncertainty crossed their face. "You think you can just defy the past, don't you?" "Yes," Cora said, determination lacing her tone. "I will own my truth." In that moment everything shifted. The fear that had gripped the diner was pierced by a lightness that filled her heart. This was her challenge, her fight. Yet, the figure could still retaliate, their deception thick. But she wouldn't let them dictate her life any longer. She took one last look at Maxwell, his expression a mixture of support and belief, and then at Ethan, steadfast and loyal, ready to confront whatever storm lay ahead. "I'm ready," she proclaimed, fear replaced by resolution. "Let us end this." The figure watched, the facade cracking slightly, sensing the tide turning. "You'll come to regret those words," they muttered before fading into the gathering shadows, leaving nothing but lingering unease around them. Cora's heart thundered with adrenaline, realizing she was now poised to reclaim what was hers. Together with Maxwell and Ethan, she was no longer just a fragile girl playing pretend. She was a warrior prepared to face whatever the night had left in store. Maxwell pulled her close, intensity sparkling in his gaze. "Whatever comes next, we've got each other." Together, Ethan added, a quiet strength underscoring his words. The night was just beginning. But this time Cora would shine, not hide. The truth would be her armor, and she would emerge victorious, ready to embrace not just the fearful shadows of her past, but the blazing light of her future. Cora stepped decisively into the unknown, her heart lifted with hope, knowing she was finally on her own path. With that, she turned towards the door, ready to face whatever awaited and to forge a life made of strength, truth, and even if they were bruised, beauty. And as they stepped back into the night, shadows could only watch with envy, for Cora was now untouchable. Hey, if you loved this nail-biting conclusion, now is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately, so you don't miss the next exclusive story. Smash that like button now to help the algorithm thrive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Cora's future. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Let us keep this amazing community growing.